This video is for educational and infotainment purposes only. It is not intended to encourage or glorify the use of illegal drugs, violence, or criminal activity in any way. So everybody has seen videos of people on Flakka or bath salts flopping around, basically looking like a zombie. Hence the name, the zombie drug. There's stories of cannibalism, superhuman strength, and just really odd behavior. And while its use has declined in popularity in the United States in recent months, its low cost and extreme highs have caught on in Russia and Eastern Europe. So where did all of this stuff come from? Well, the actual origin of these substances is a naturally occurring plant that is huge in Africa, and one that you probably have never even heard of. So what is it? Well, you're about to find out. I'm Joshua Roberts, attorney at law, and you are watching A Lawyer Up. In today's short episode, we're going to take a look at the origin of Cathinone drugs. This includes Cathinone itself, along with all of the chemically similar synthetic drugs that we know of today as Flakka or MDMA or Molly. Now, we're not going to talk about Flakka or Molly itself. There are hundreds of videos on those drugs, a couple of which I have made. This instead is just a short little video talking about the origin of those drugs, which of course begs the question, where did all of this get started? Well, it all goes back to the leaves of a shrub called Khat, which is generally referred to as Khat for short. It's spelled Khat or Quat, but it also has lots of slang names depending upon the region, including Gat, which is spelled G-A-T, Jaba, Mira, and Veve, just to name a few. So the Khat plant grows as a bush or a small tree that resembles a shrub. And why this plant is important is that its young buds and tender leaves are picked and consumed to obtain a state of euphoria or stimulation. Khat has been cultivated in the Horn of Africa and the Arabian Peninsula region of the world for thousands of years. Inside of the leaf is an alkaloid called cathinone. It's also known as beta-ketoamphetamine. It is a psychoactive chemical similar to ephedrine and other amphetamines, and it is the main contributor to the stimulant effect that people receive when ingesting the plant. And this stuff is a big, big deal. Over 20 million people in the Arabian Peninsula and East Africa consume khat. It is an important part of the culture and the economy in this region, especially in Ethiopia, where khat is said to have originated, but also in Kenya, Somalia, and Yemen. To put that in perspective, in Kenya, 80% of the population states that they chew khat at least occasionally, with 60% saying they use khat daily. Khat production is 15 times more profitable than the traditional agriculture, so there has been a significant shift from food production to khat production. It was also reported that 40% of the country's water supply was used to irrigate khat plants, whose sales make up 30% of the country's entire economy. The survey also revealed that families spent 17% of their total income on khat. Now, specifically, more men use it than women, with men primarily chewing it, similar to smokeless tobacco or chewing tobacco, and women most often drink it in an infused tea form, which goes by Arabian tea, Somali tea, Bushman's tea, among several other names. Now, khat ingestion and the effects of cathinone on the body differ from person to person, but usually includes feelings of euphoria that last for 1 to 2 hours, where the chewer's imagination is very active. Farmers and other workers also use khat to reduce fatigue and hunger, as it functions like a caffeine in a strong cup of coffee or an energy drink. Now, khat is generally legal in the Arabian Peninsula and East Africa, and it's generally illegal everywhere else in the world. Here in the US, you've probably never even heard of khat. And here's why. In order to produce the desired effects, khat leaves must be chewed fresh. As soon as you pick the leaf, the cathinone starts to break down and the leaf loses its psychoactive effects relatively quickly. For example, if you picked a bunch of leaves and shipped them to the US, there would be little if any cathinone left by the time it got here. So because of the need for quick consumption, it is a habit that has historically been prevalent only where the plant grows. But where there is a will, there is a way. And so in the early 1950s, chemists in labs in China and Pakistan went to work developing synthetic versions of cathinone that don't break down. It can be synthesized in a couple of different ways. The most common form is from the ketone propionone, which coincidentally anybody can buy. So it's not terribly difficult to create. Now, I won't get into the specifics because YouTube gets mad when I tell people how to make drugs. However, what I can tell you is that chemically, cathinone and amphetamine are very closely related. As such, cathinone can be converted into methcathinone in much the same way that amphetamine is converted into methamphetamine. And when drug cartels make it in a lab, they are making the ramped up version. Anyway, it's these synthetic cathinones that form the core ingredient in MDMA, also called ecstasy or Molly, Flakka, and bath salts. And while it all started overseas, according to the DEA in the early 2000s, these drugs became very popular with young people in the US and Europe, and so drug labs in those areas started manufacturing the drug locally to meet the demand. The first forms of the synthetic cathinones that were created in labs took the form of white powder granules or crystals that resembled Epsom or bath salts, which is how it got its nickname. In fact, the drug's early packaging was as bath salts and often labeled not for human consumption in an attempt to circumvent certain product manufacturing and distribution laws. Anyway, the mild form of the drug is what you find in MDMA or Molly, and the extreme form gives you Flakka, the zombie drug, or monkey dust as it's called in the UK. Now, we could go on and talk about these drugs, but I and several others already have videos on their current usage. So check out those videos if you are interested. This video was intended just to be a quick history on where these cathinone drugs came from. That being said, that is all we have for you today. If you enjoyed the episode, hit that like button for me. If you got something to say about it, put it in the comment sections below. If you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button. That's all for today. My name is Joshua Roberts, attorney at law, and you've been watching Lawyer Up.